Good day, everyone. Today, we will be presenting a topic that plays a very important role in financial management, the dividend decisions. But before we begin, let me first introduce our group members. I am Hershad S. Mamison, and with me are Siti Haina Rajamoda, Al Rayhan Pakal, Rowena Oloroso, and Micah Portaje. Together, we will guide you through the concepts and importance of dividend decisions in financial management. A dividend decision is one of the most important financial decisions a company makes because it involves distributing profits to its shareholders. It reflects how much of the profit will be given to the owners and how much will be retained for future growth. In this sense, dividend decisions are closely connected to the value of the company and the wealth of the shareholders. In our presentation, we will go through the different aspects of dividend decisions, including theories, policies, and the factors that influence them. To build our foundation, we will begin by defining what is a dividend and then look at the different forms it takes. By the end, we hope to show how dividend decisions represent a company's financial strategy and its balance between rewarding shareholders and ensuring long term success. Now, let us first understand what a dividend is before moving to its different forms. So, what is dividend? A dividend is the portion of a company's profit that is distributed to its shareholders as a reward for their investment. In simple terms, when a business earns profit, part of it can be given back to the owners in the form of dividends. According to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, a dividend is defined as a distribution to shareholders out of profits or reserves. Now moving on, there are different forms of dividends that a company may issue depending on its situation. This includes cash dividend, stock dividend, bond dividend, and property dividend. To begin with, a cash dividend is the most common type. In this form, shareholders receive money directly from the company's profit. It is paid periodically and is usually preferred because it provides immediate benefit. Meanwhile, a stock dividend is given in the form of additional company shares. This type allows the company to retain its cash while still rewarding shareholders. In many cases, these are issued as bonus shares to existing shareholders. In addition, there is the bond dividend, which is also called scrip dividend. This is used when the company does not have enough money or cash at the moment. Instead of paying cash, it issues bonds or notes that will be paid at a later date. Finally, a property dividend is when the company distributes assets other than cash, such as equipments or goods. This form is very rare and is usually declared only under special circumstances. In conclusion, dividend represents a company's way of rewarding its shareholders, and they can take different forms depending on the company's financial condition. The main types are cash, stock, bond, and property dividends. Altogether, each type carries its own importance and has a unique impact on both the company and the investors.
So good day everyone, I am Siti Haina Ara Jamuda, and today I will be discussing about the topic dividend decisions and a little bit more of introduction of dividend theories. So first we have is the dividend decisions. So what is dividend decisions? A dividend decisions is about what a company does with its profit. There are two options. We have to give dividends or retained earnings. When we say give dividends, it means it distribute cash or shares to shareholders. And the second one, which is the retained earnings, is to keep the profits to reinvest in their business. So the importance of these two is, first, it affects shareholders' income, which is the money that they have now, and second is affect companies' growth or for the future value. So the examples of this one, example one is Jollibee earns 1 billion, and the Jollibee has two options with the money. First is to pay 5 pesos per share dividend to the investors, or the option B, which is to use 1 billion pesos to expand branches abroad for long-term growth. So now I will be discussing about the dividend theories. So there are two parts of it, which is the irrelevance of dividend and relevance of dividend. So in the first one is the irrelevance of dividend, there are two types, which is the Solomon theories and the Modigliani and Miller theories, or M&M. So the idea of this one is the company value depends on good investments, not dividend policy. Investor can sell shares anytime if they need cash. The second type of dividend theory is the relevance of dividend. So in the relevance of dividend, there are also two models, which is the Walters model and the Gordon's model. So the idea of this one is investors prefer cash dividends now over uncertain future profits. Regular dividends equals to sign of stability and attract investors. And this topic, the dividends theory, will be further discussed by the next two reporters, which is Mr. Alrihan Pakal and Miss Rowena Oloroso.
Irrelevance of dividend policy by Modigliani and Miller approach, or also known as the M&M approach. There are other irrelevant approaches out there like the Solomon approach, but we're just gonna focus on the Modigliani and Miller approach because this approach is parang yung pioneer and contributed a lot to the irrelevance of dividend policy theory. So let's proceed to its concept. Dividend policy has no effect. So the relevance this approach suggests that dividend policy has no effect on the value of the firm. Basically, it just says that whether a firm gives dividends today and gives dividends today or later on pa, parang same lang yung effect niya sa firm. Yun yung sinasuggest ng approach na to. Share price is determined by earning power of the investment decision and not by the dividends. So basically, its dividends are irrelevant. Whether magbigay man sila or hindi, same lang yung value ng firm. Kasi it's focused on the earning power, how profitable a firm is, and its wise investment decisions. Next, investors can create homemade dividends by selling shares. So let's say an investor did not receive dividends, parang hindi niya pina-convert into dividends yung shares niya. Pwede niya, if binenta niya yung shares na yun, basically para siyang dividends, pero yung investor na mismo yung gumawa ng paraan paano niya ma-convert yun into dividends. So that's what we call the homemade dividends. And lastly, this approach was developed by Professor Modigliani and Miller in 1961. So statement of the theory: under perfect market conditions, walang external thinking, na walang external forces that could affect the value of the firm. Dividend policy does not influence market price of shares. Next is dividend decision is irrelevant to firm value. Again, in-emphasize talaga na yung dividend decision, mag-release man ngayon ng dividend or not, irrelevant siya sa firm value, sa value ng firm. Next, assumption of M&M approach. Ina-assume niya na may perfect capital market, walang other cost that may occur. Investors are rational wealth maximizing. It assumes na yun lang talaga yung purpose ng mga investors, to maximize wealth. And no taxes, no different, parang perfect capital market, walang other external forces na might affect the gains. Next is firm has fixed investment policy. Lastly, no risk or uncertainty. Future profits are known. Connected sa no taxes, no difference between dividend and capital gains. Basically, it says na kung ano yung nag-gain ng isang firm, buo niya yung makukuha. Walang other cost, hindi yung gain na yun hindi mababawasan ng taxes and other costs costs. Ina-assume niya kasi na yung buong gain na yun is mapupunta lang either dividends or capital gains. Capital gains through reinvestment of that gain in the first place. So this is the core formula of M&M approach. P is equal to D1 plus P1 over 1, which is a constant na, plus K, cost of equity capital. So to conclude, dividend policy is irrelevant in determining firm value. Again, I'm reiterating what I've mentioned earlier. Next is firm value depends only on investment and earning capacity. And lastly, in real life, assumption are unrealistic. So, in real life, hindi ganun ka trusted itong M&M approach kasi may other theories kasi na parang kinakalaban niya tong approach na to that suggests that dividends may matter. And in reality, we have taxes So, mababawasan talaga yung gains ng isang company or ng isang firm. So, that's it for the irrelevance of dividend policy using the Modigliani and Miller approach.
So, good evening everyone. So, I am Alrehan Norpacal. So, I am going to explain to you furthermore what about relevance of dividend policy that is the approach of Walter and Gordon. So concept as nakikita nyo sa screen, no, you may read it. So, I will just explain it, no. So, ang relevance ng dividend theory, it suggests that the way a company handles its dividends, usually they really create a huge impact to the overall value of the business or the firm. So, bakit? Kasi from the root word of the theory, yung dividends, when we say dividends, these are the portion of profits na kung saan the company give to its shareholders. So, take note, ito ay form of cash, ha? And we also need to bear in mind that the discretion of the dividends distribution only varies on the company's solvency, yung financial stability ng isang company na mag-adapt sa ganitong dividend policy. These shareholders, not all the company pay them. So, yun nga, not all company has the capacity to become adaptive sa ganitong sistema, but some company also strive na ma-achieve nila itong ganito dahil they believe that kung isang company ay may magandang sistema na kagaya nito, investors may feel more confident sa financial health ng company, and mas gaganahan to sila mag-invest, which leads to an increase of stock price and overall value of the firm. So I hope I answered the question kung bakit nga ba talaga na ang relevance itong dividend theory is merong huge impact sa overall value ng business. Next. Walter's view on the theory naman, he believed that dividends do matter because the decision to pay or keep them can change the value of the firm depending on how the company uses its profits. So, mayroong gi-propose si Walter na dalawang concept ni R and K, wherein si R naman daw stands for the rate of return ni company sa kanyang mga investments, at si K naman daw is yun yung return naman ni shareholders or expected na earnings nila doon sa ininvest nila kay firm. So, meron dito tayong tatlong conditions na binigay ni Walter na more likely dividends decision kumbaga. So first, kapag mas malaki yung return ng company doon sa investment kesa sa earnings ni shareholders or investors, sinabi ni Walter na it is better na wag na magbayad ng dividends si firm and just simply reinvest the money. Dahil daw, dito is magiging factor in ito siya ng pag-increase ng value ni firm. So pangalawa, it is the other way around naman. Si shareholders naman or investors, ang malaki ang return at mababa si firm naman. So sinuggest naman din ni Walter na kung kapag ganito yung nangyayari, the firm should consider paying dividends dahil yung kapag binabayaran naman ng firm si shareholders ng let's say yung portion of the profit, of course, the discretion would be on the end of the shareholders kung magre-reinvest ba sila ng money doon sa company. And the same also, this could lead an increase of the firm's value. So, last is when both returns are in balance, kumbaga R is equals to K, hindi na nagmamatter if ang firm is magbabayad pa o magre-reinvest na lang. Dahil either way of the two choices, wala naman itong impact sa value ni firm. So next, ang concept naman ni Gordon. Ang concept ni Gordon ay naiiba kay Walter, pero pareho naman din sila. Ang common denominator nila is pinapahalaga nila ang dividends. Now, ang paniniwala ni Gordon is ang mga investors daw ay mas gusto nilang magkaroon agad-agad ng return kesa hantayin pa nila na kumita ng sapat o malaki ang firm bago sila mabayaran, dahil ang doctrine nila doon is, ang paniniwala nila doon ng mga investors is masyadong uncertain kasi or very risky na mag-expect ng future profits. And dahil dito, according kay Gordon, the company would be seen as more reliable and kaaya-aya sa mga investors kapag inadapt naman yung concept ni Gordon na kailangan agaran talaga on time ang tawag dyan, ang pagbabayad ng dividends. Okay, so next is the Walter's formula. So, ang formula ni Walter, dito tayo mag-focus guys ha, has evolved a mathematical formula for determining the value of the market share. So, as you can see sa screen, no, meron tayo ditong P as market price of an equity share. So, yan yung isosolve natin, no. Next is dividend per share, internal rate of return, earning per share, and cost of equity capital. So, ngayong nakuha natin, alam na natin ang formula ni Walter, ang na-formulate niya, no. So, meron tayong exercise dito, no. So, basahin niyo na lang sa screen niyo kung ano yung problem and proceed tayo sa sa explanation ng solution. So, we have here a sample problem na see to it na madali siya dahil well presented ang items, no. Nakikita niyo naman sa screen. Ang kailangan nyo lang gawin is follow the solution na later isa-isahin natin. So, the given are presented. No? The given are presented and this information will be our reference na masagot yung problem. So, simulan natin yung step by step. Una, solve natin ang EPS or yung earnings per share, sorry. So the formula for EPS is total earnings, nakikita nyo din sa screen ninyo, no? Divided by number of shares. So based sa problem, kung babalikan natin yung given, no? Nakikita nyo din naman, ang total earnings natin is 200k. At ang shares ay 20k, which gives us a total of 10 shares kapag i-apply natin yung rule, no? The equation. 200,000 divided by 20,000, that gives us 10 shares. So next naman, ang cost of ratio. Simply apply the rule with the given formula. Nakikita nyo sa screen niyo, no? Ang PE natin, ang PE ratio natin ay 10. So magkakaroon tayo ng cost of ratio na 0.10. So ang formula kasi natin is 1 divided by PE ratio. So yan ang formula natin sa cost of ratio. So applying the rule na meron tayong PE ratio na 10, so 1 divided by 10, meron tayong 0.10 na cost of ratio. Next, ang DPS or yung dividends per share. Meron tayong total dividends paid as per the given, no? Kung titingnan natin yung given, mali lang kasi yung nakalagay dito, but it's 100,000. So 100k ang dividends paid natin, and meron tayo naman number of shares na 20k. So same lang din, apply natin ang equation and the DPS is 5. 100,000 divided by 20,000, that gives us a 5 of DPS or dividends per share. Okay, so last, no, this is the continuation of the first, no. So ngayong nakuha na natin yung DPS, the cost of ratio, and the EPS. Ngayon, proceed na tayo dito sa kung saan gagamitin or ma-maximize na natin yung formula ni Walter or yung model niya. So ngayon, nakikita nyo sa screen niyo yung model ni Walter, no? Ngayong EPS, cost of ratio at DPS, gagamitin natin yun para naman makuha natin ang market price per share. So una, gagamitin natin, again, yung formula or model and substitute the value of the cost of ratio, the dividends per share, and yung sagot na nakuha natin sa EPS, earnings per share. So, applying the rule, we can now have the market price na 125. Don't mind the screen kasi mali yan, kasi nga 12.5 ang nakalagay, but yes, 5 plus 7.5 it's 12. And 12 divided by 0.10 or 0.10 is 125. So, yun yung market price per share natin. Now, balikan natin yung given kanina. Gawin nating basihan ang cost of ratio at investment return. Gamitin natin yung concept ni Walter na pag mas malaki daw ang return ni firm, the firm should no longer consider paying dividends doon sa kanilang investor or shareholders. So, sa case natin, ang return natin ay 15%. At ang cost of ratio natin ay 10%, no? Balikan natin yung previous, no? Yung slide kanina, makikita nyo yon. So, mas malaki ang return kaysa sa earnings ni investor or ni shareholders. So, this leads to retaining of all profits to zero, no? Ngayon, gamitin natin ulit yung formula ni Walter. Dito na tayo sa pinaka-latter part, no? Don't mind again the problem given, nakikita nyo sa screen, dahil yung dito sa may sa labas na term is makikita pa dito yung 5 kasi ang sabi kasi dito is, 'di ba, magiging 0 na si dividend, no? Kasi nga hindi na magbabayad ng dividend dito. So ngayon, makikita nyo 5 plus 0.15 pa rin siya, pero dapat yung 5 is 0 pa rin siya, kagaya nung nasa loob ng entity natin na 10 minus 0. So dapat 5 is magiging 0 yan siya. So, ngayon gamitin natin ulit yung formula ni Walter, pero this time gagawin natin 0 both sides. Kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, si dividends. Applying the rule of substitution, the equation will give us a new market price of 150, no? So 0 plus 0.15 divided by 0.10 times 10 minus 0 divided by 0.10, so magkakaroon tayo ng 15, no? Ay magkakaroon tayo yan ng magkakaroon tayo ng 15. Yeah, tama. 15 divided by 0.10. Tama. So ngayon, 15 divided by 0.10, magkakaroon tayo ng 150. So, mapapansin natin na tumaas ang shares pag hindi magbabayad ng dividend si firm. So, overall, yun lang yung kailangan nating malaman dito. Kasi yung sa latter part, hindi natin yan siya pagtutuunan ng pansin dahil yung sa latter part is nag-increase siya by following a zero payout, no? So, yun lang. And thank you for listening.
Okay, let's proceed to the dividend policy. Ano nga ba ang dividend policy? Dividend policy is a simple the company plans on what to do with its profit. After a business earns money, management must decide first, should we give part of the earnings to the owners or shareholders as dividends? Number two, should we keep the money in the business to expand, pay debts, or prepare for the future? Or maybe do a mix of both. So, dividend policy is about balancing the needs of the shareholders and the company. According sa Investopedia 2025, they explain that a dividend policy outlines how a company will distribute its dividend to its shareholders, including how often, when, and how much is distributed. Similarly, sinabi din ng Corporate Finance Institute 2024, a company's dividend policy dictates the amount of dividends paid out and the frequency with which they are paid. So, sa madaling sabi, ibig sabihin ng dividend policy ay guiding plan for dividing profits between two uses. Rewarding shareholders with dividend or retaining earnings for growth. So, without a clear policy, investor might lose confidence, while yung mga company could also good na to secure enough funds for future expansion. Thus, dividend policy, ini-ensure niya rin a fair balance between immediate returns and long-term sustainability. The next one is we have the factors that affect dividend policy. So, meron po tayong 10. So, many things influence whether a company pays dividends or not. Such as, first is yung legal restrictions. So, a company cannot just pay dividends anytime. Some law restrict paying dividends if the business has not made enough profit. So, yung legal restrictions and debt covenants often limits dividend payments according sa CFA Institute 2025. It means that ang mga governments nag-impose sila ng rules para protektahan yung mga creditors and gina-ensure nila that dividends are paid only from actual profit, not borrowed funds. So, for example, some debts contracts restrict dividends to make sure na yung mga lenders are prioritized. The number 2 factors is yung magnitude and trend of earnings. So, if the company makes big and stable profit, it can give regular dividends. If profit are small or unpredictable, it may keep the money. Profitability and stability are major determinants according sa Investopedia 2025. So, an explanation on stable profit provides assurance that dividends can be sustained. On the other hand, if income is uncertain, management prefer to return earnings to prepare for lean years. So, number 3 factors is yung desire and type of shareholders. So, some owners prefer regular income or dividends, while others prefer the company to grow and increase share value according sa FI Money 2023. So, ang explanation nun, yung mga investors' preferences influence company decision. So, for example, yung mga retirees, gina-prefer nila yung consistent dividends, while yung mga younger investor, gina-prioritize nila yung mag-reinvest earnings for higher capital gains. For number 4, we have the nature of industry. For example, electric companies usually pay steady dividends because they have stable income, while tech startups often keep profits to fund research according sa CFI 2024. So, explanation naman doon, yung mga industry with predictable cash flows can afford regular dividends. Growth industry like technology usually ma-retain yung earnings nila to invest in innovation. Oh, yeah. And then let's proceed to number 5, age of the company. So, ang age of the company, newer business usually reinvest earnings, while older companies with fewer growth opportunities often pays dividends. According naman ito sa Money 2023. So, explanation doon, yung mga young firms daw are still building their market presence and need funds to expand, while yung mga mature companies naman having limited expansion opportunities, they most likely distribute more earnings sa mga investors. Number 6, we have the future financial requirements. So if the business expects to expand, it may keep more money instead of paying it out according sa Investopedia 2025. So explanation doon, yung mga planned expansion, acquisition, or new projects require retained earnings. Thus, yung mga future investment plans directly lower dividends payouts po. Number 7 is taxation policy. So, taxation policy, how dividends are taxed compared to reinvest earnings, also influence the decision according naman sa FI Money 2023. So, ang explanation dito, if yung dividends are heavily taxed, yung mga firms may refer to reinvest earnings, while in tax-friendly environments, companies may pay out more. So, number 8, the stage of business cycle. Dito naman, during good times, companies are more willing to pay dividends. In bad times naman, they may hold back cash according sa CFA Institute 2025. So, ang explanation naman dito is yung mga economic downturns make firms conserve cash to survive, while booms encourage higher dividends payouts to attract investors. Number 9, we have the regularity. So, ang regularity, even if profits are high, a company cannot pay dividends if it doesn't have enough cash on hand, according sa Investopedia 2025. So, explanation naman dito, yung mga dividends require liquidity, not just profit. So, yung mga companies with most of their wealth tied in asset may delay dividends despite reporting income. Number 10, requirements of institutional investments. So, institutional investments, like yung mga banks or funds, sometimes prefer stable dividends, so companies adjust policy to keep them happy according sa CFI 2025. So, explanation naman dito, yung mga large shareholders exert influence on policy since mas gina-prefer nila yung mga reliable income. Companies often maintain dividends consistency to return their support. So, proceed naman tayo sa dimension of dividend policy. So, meron dalawang main aspects. First is yung payout ratio. So, yung payout ratio, this is the percentage of earnings the company gives out as dividends. For example, if it earns 1 million and pays out 400,000 as dividends, so yung payout ratio niya lang is 40%. According naman sa Investopedia, the dividend payout ratio indicates a dividend sustainability based on how much of its earnings a company pays in dividends. So, sa madaling sabi, ang payout ratio shows how much profit is shared and how much is yung kept. So, a high payout ratio may please investors but can leave little for reinvestment. So, yung mga low ratio naman, meaning more growth potential but fewer immediate rewards for shareholders. So, proceed tayo sa number 2. Number 2, we have the stability. So, companies may first pay the same amount regularly, which is yung stable, increase dividends slowly over time, or change dividends depending on profits, which is yung unstable. According naman sa CFI 2024, notes that under a stable dividend policy, firms commit to a predictable approach either a fixed payout ratio, a fixed amount per share, or a fixed amount plus a bonus when profit allows. So, ang explanation naman dito, ang stability nag-matter because yung mga investors, mas gina-value nila yung certainty. A stable or yung gradual increasing dividends build trust, and of course, nag-signal siya ng financial health. While pag unstable naman, of course, dividends can make yung mga investors natin doubt the company's reliability. So, let's proceed doon naman sa types of dividend policy. So, we have 4 types of dividend policy. First is yung regular dividend policy. Ang regular dividend policy is yung paying dividends consistently. Example nito yung quarterly or yearly. So, ang explanation dito, this reassures shareholders with steady income but may strain the company in lean years. So, proceed tayo sa number 2. So, yung number 2 naman is ang stable dividend policy. Ang meaning nito, paying either the same fixed amount per share or the same payout percentage or a regular fixed amount plus an extra when profits are high. So, ang explanation natin dito is this approach, itong approach na ito, balances siya ng consistency with flexibility, making it the most common among mature firms. So, number 3 is yung irregular dividend policy. Ang irregular dividend policy naman, no fixed schedule, company pays only when profit allows. So, ibig sabihin nito, itong policy na ito this policy is more flexible pero risky siya for investors na parang mas gina-prefer nila yung regular cash returns. So, for the last one, we have no dividend policy. So, ibig sabihin nito, some fast-growing companies like yung mga tech firms don't pay dividends and instead reinvest everything. Explanation dito, yung mga firms na kagaya ng mga Amazon, Tesla, historically reinvest profit into growth, which naman benefits investor through capital appreciation rather than direct income. So, according to CFI 2024 and FI Money 2023 stated that these 4 types reflects how companies choose to balance investors' expectations and business growth. So, in short, dividend policy is about how much money a company keeps for itself versus how much it shares with its owners. So, the decision, of course, nagadepend siya sa profit, loss, growth needs, cash available, taxes, and what kind of shareholders ang meron. According po yan sa Investopedia 2025 and CFA Institute 2025. So, that's all for the dividend policy. Yun lang po. Thank you.
Now that we have tackled everything about dividend decision, we can say that it is one of the most critical aspects of financial management. It directly affects both the wealth of shareholders and the long-term growth of the company. While some theories suggest that dividends may not influence firm value, others prove that they play a significant role in shaping investor confidence and market perception. Dividend policies, along with the factors that influence them, show just how complex these decisions can be. At the heart of it, dividends, whether in a form of cash, stock, bonds, or property, represent the company's way of striking a balance between providing immediate rewards to shareholders and sustaining future stability and growth. On behalf of our group, we sincerely thank you for your attention. We hope this video or presentation has helped you gain a clearer understanding of dividend decisions and their importance in financial management. This concludes our report about dividend decisions. Again, we are the Group 4. Thank you once again.